UFC touches down on Singapore with some familiar faces. Dan Tom with MMA Junkie here to help you break down the main event for UFC on ESPN Plus 20 between Ben Askren and Demian Maia. We all know Demian Maia. He's everyone's favorite Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a multiple-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, in and out of the gi when you count those ADCC accolades as well. He's been able to take that into MMA. He went through his striking phase, of course, the K1 Maia, if you will, which may serve him well in this fight. He is an underrated southpaw with a heavy left hand, but ultimately melds his newfound wrestling to his old school love for jiu-jitsu into one solid sword, and has been able to take out a lot of the welterweight division, whereas Ben Askren, he was undefeated coming into the UFC, had some tough fights, got the win against Lawler, albeit without some controversy and adversity, which to me was very impressive that he could push through that. Unfortunately, if you run into the perfect flying knee as he did against Jorge Masvidal, that's all she wrote as far as that goes. That being said, I don't think you can close the book, the proverbial book that is, on Ben Askren. He is a competitor through and through. I don't think he's going to want that to be his last mark on his resume, so to speak. So he's going to come with all his wrestling tools, all the tools we know him for, that funk. But will it be enough to beat Maia? Now, the odds makers say so. Right now, depending on where you look at, you got Ben Askren roughly at minus 185 as your favorite, whereas the comeback on the underdog, which is the UFC vet Demian Maia, going to be in that neighborhood of plus 165 or so, depending on what houses you're looking at. I can't disagree when you look at the fact that most of Demian Maia's losses or his shutouts, where he was kind of just shut out of his game, came against higher level wrestlers. Now, Askren's not just a high-level wrestler. He's a two-time Division I champion. He is a two-time Hodge winner. These are very rare things. More importantly, he was a training camp member of one of those high-level wrestlers who had to shut Demian Maia down. That was, of course, longtime Mizzou Tiger teammate Tyron Woodley. Now, kind of similar to my argument when Colby Covington was facing Maia, as he was a training partner for George Masvidal back when they were friends. You can kind of see how it pays off to kind of go over the game plan twice now for yourself, especially. It paid off well for Covington. I think it pays off well for Askren here. But not just resting on that theory of a training camp or the accolades as well. More specifically, it's Askren's wrestling style. He's got a great awareness of hips like most wrestlers do, albeit he operates in a funky way. But more importantly, it's wrists. He uses a lot of wrist control, granted when he's attacking, but the fact that he uses a lot of wrist control tells me he understands the defenses as well. And if you don't let a guy connect his wrists, it's hard for him to take you down, it's hard for him to pass, and it's really hard for him to choke you. And more importantly, I think that Askren will be the man getting takedowns. I think he's not going to be afraid to take Maia down. Maia was really good in the gi, when submitting guys and going against even heavyweights like Gabe Gonzaga. But that was over a decade ago. Maia's been more of a top player. He hasn't had a lot of success from the bottom, really at all in his MMA career. He's got some sweeps early on, but those moments tend to fleet as time goes on. So I think Ben Askren's hips will win out in these positional battles for a competitive decision win. My heart will be with Demian, but the pick here is Askren. Whether or not you agree with me, keep it locked in MMA Junkie. We got you coverage all weekend long.